Hello everyone and good morning from the northwest of England where it's raining again. We are having absolutely no summer whatsoever here at least in the northwest of England. Hope you're all okay. Welcome back to my channel where we just literally faff around with crafty things that are easy to make, beautiful to look at and not too complicated, which is exactly how I like my life. Life is complicated enough, isn't it? So I hope you're all okay. Let me know in the comments what you're doing and what you've been up to, what you've been making, and let's have a chat in the comments. I always love to hear from you guys. So today I thought we would have a look at these really, really gorgeous, very elegant scalloped necklaces. Super easy to make these little components and they look wonderful, and I've teamed mine with some copper washers. Copper washers are a brilliant thing to have in your jewellery arsenal because you can do all sorts of things with them. So here you can see that I've used a larger one with larger scalloped components, making for a bit more of a chunky looking piece. And here a little bit finer with a larger washer, and here with the smaller washers, which again looks very elegant, I think. So we're going to sort of try to replicate this a little, not exactly this piece, but we're going to do something very similar with the smaller washers today. You can put all sorts of things with them, beads, you know, whatever, dangly things, different types of chains. So here obviously I've used I think it's called a trace chain, something like that anyway, just made with jump rings. These are all absolutely completely handmade. And here I've used, I do like this link for chains. I just think it's very elegant with simple S clasps. All right, so I'm going to clear this away. We'll go through a list of materials and we'll get going on making something akin to this. All right, so I'll see you in a few. Righty ho guys, so let's go through a list of materials. So as you can see here, we're using just regular copper wire, little copper washers, which we will be hammering to give that beautiful texture, and whatever beads you want to dangle off these. Actually, I mean, how beautiful does that look? Really textural piece, very, very pretty around the neckline. There are a couple of considerations to make when you're making this, which we'll go through when we actually start to make it. I'll just explain what I mean in a little while and how it sits around the neckline. Just a couple of things to consider, but nothing that will stop you from making this cute necklace. All right, so we'll pop this out of the way. So you can make these in all sorts of different gauges. With this particular one, I used a heavy gauge, 2mm wire, but for this one that we're going to do today, we're going to use 1.5mm wire. As always, I will put the gauge equivalents somewhere around here for you. 1.5mm wire for your little scalloped components. You will need some 0.6mm wire. Again, I'll put the equivalent here for you. And also you're going to need some copper washers. Now I buy these very, very inexpensively and they come in all sorts of different sizes. The ones that we're using today are this size, which are, let's have a look, 10mm inner diameter, and that's 14mm outside diameter by 1mm. I think. No, that's the wrong size. Start again, Sam. Let's have a look. That's it. Yeah, okay, so that's 8mm inner diameter. Let me just check. Yeah. It's been one of those weeks. 8mm inner diameter. 13 outer diameter by 1mm. All right, so we're going to be using these. Sorry about that. So you're going to need as many as you like, really. I'm using 5 of these, or perhaps 4, because I might, yeah, I'll use 4, and then we will use a larger copper washer. Let's have a look. Yeah, Okay, let's do that. I mean, this kind of necklace design, you can make it however you like. So anything goes. So use the smaller ones, the very large ones, use lots of large ones. You could graduate them in size, that kind of thing. So shall we use this one? Let's have a look. Oh, here come the planes again, honestly. It's one of the perils of living under a flight path of pleasure flights. Honestly, I think from here they go over to Ireland as well, so there seems to be lots of planes over my house. All right, so this one is outside diameter is 24 millimeters, inside diameter is 18, and it's a 1.5 millimeter thickness. All right, just in case you wanted to exactly replicate mine, you don't have to. This is just literally, as always, ideas for you. I don't profess to be an expert at all in any which way, shape or form. I just like making pretty things. So if you wanted something more complicated, I can quite happily recommend quite a few channels of more complicated pieces. So, okay, so that's what we're going to use. Again, in the description box, I'll put everything that I've used today if you really want to replicate exactly what I'm doing, okay? So you're also going to need some of what I call the usual suspects, which is your flush cutters, 2 pairs of your very favourite chain nose pliers. You've seen me use these lots of times. And a 6-step bell making plier, or indeed, if you're proficient in your round nose, please go ahead and use those. Mine are 2 to 9 increment. I know they do come in different sizes, but I use 2 to 9 increments on mine just because it's the one I bought the first and it's the one I like to use the most. What else are we going to need? You're going to need some jump rings. Okay, so today I'm going to be using 5mm made with 1.25, that's 16 gauge I believe, wire, and I made these by hand. If you want to see how I make them, up here I will pop a video link where you can go and have a look at how I make mine. And what else do we need? You're going to need some beads. So with this particular one, I dangled a little green leafy type point and some little flowers on mine. But today I'm going to be using these cute little daggers. All right, so you can use whatever you like. I'm using daggers today. You can use rounds, you can use anything you like. Again, anything goes. Just use this as inspiration and just go for it and make yourself happy. This has made me happy this week. It's been a bit of a rough week, so we're going to be using daggers today. And I think apart from to bend the, to shape the scalloped pieces, I use my ring mandrel, but you can quite easily use a marker pen or anything that you use as a mandrel really. So a ring mandrel if you have one. And finally, last but not least, a little bench block and a very affordable hammer, because we're just going to be doing a little bit of bashing and taking out all our frustrations on our little pieces of wire. Not too much though, we don't want them too flat. All right, so I'll clear the table away and we'll get going, and we'll make our beautiful scallop necklace. Okay, so I'll see you in a few. Okay, so we're back, and hopefully now you've got all your materials ready. Let's go ahead and make some of these cuties. Each one of these is made with 1.5mm wire, and each one of these I have used to make a more delicate version uses 1.5mm, and the length is 5 centimeters. All right, so as always, flush cut your end just to make sure everything's nice and neat, and you'll need 5 centimeter lengths. All right, so just cut off that, and we have our little piece of wire. So I come in with my second step on my plier, and literally just, I'm going to try and not to repeat myself this time, so I'm not going to say literally again. I think it's a nerves thing, guys. I don't understand why. It's just silly. Anyway, so we make one P-loop on one side and again exactly the same on the other. So you just rotate your wire around your pliers. There we go. So we have these. All right, so you want to make, I don't know, however many you like. It depends on the length of the necklace that you want. So all you need to do is take your mandrel. Now I use the letter S on my UK size mandrel, but you can use whatever you like, whatever size you want, whatever length of wire or whatever gauge of wire that you want. Don't forget, this is just an idea for you. So take your wire and just bend it around a particular point on your mandrel or on your marker pen, whatever it is you're using. And if you use the same size of mandrel, you'll get consistent sizes in your little components here. All right, so the next thing we need to do is to give them some hammering. Number one, it gives them more stability, it makes them quite strong. And number two, it gives them a beautiful texture, which I think on these pieces looks really nice. So you bring in your bench block. This is the fun part. All right, so you give it a hammer. So you can leave it thus if you want, or you can use the pinball side of your hammer and just give it a little bit more texture. So I'll just do that now. Righty-ho, so as you can see here, we now have a really nice little component, link, whatever you want to call it, and it's got some cute texture to it. All right, so you need to make maybe, I'd say between 6 to 8 of these, depending upon the length of your necklace. I need to take about a 20-inch because I'm a larger lady. And actually, this is where I'll have a quick chat about how these sit around your neck. Quick tip for you is I've found out to my cost whilst I've been making these that if you make it sit too tightly like a choker around your neck, these guys flip. All right, they don't sit on the neckline or on the décolleté very flat. They sort of flip like so. So what I suggest you do if you're going to make these is to make your necklace sit on your clavicle, which means that these guys won't flip too much. Okay, so obviously when we move and our skin moves and our body moves, these guys will flip around slightly. I found that if you make them longer, the necklace is longer, that when these guys sit around the neckline, they're more likely to not flip if you make the necklace chain longer and this guy sits, this part of the necklace here sits lower down on the décolleté area. All right, so that's just a tip for you, just because I've discovered that myself. All right, so this is what we're aiming for. So make 6 or 8 or however many you like. The next thing we need to do is to bring in our copper washers. Again, I like to give these guys a good hammering. I won't do that on camera because it's a bit noisy, but here's one I made earlier, as they say. Okay, so you need to give those, well, you don't need to, but I suggest you give those a little bit of a hammering. Sometimes copper washers can have a slight touch of a sharp edge about them, obviously because they're not made for jewellery, they're made for home improvement and things like that, aren't they? So feel free to come in with a little file and just give the edges a little bit of a rub with a file just to smooth them off a little bit. All right, so for my necklace today, I'm going to make it with, let's have a look. I think, let's have a see. This is where your experimentation comes in. You can just lay it on your table or on a bead mat or whatever and just sort of decide what you're going to do. So let's have a look. I think we'll have that, and that. Let's have a think. Yep. And then that, and that, and that. Yeah, okay, so this is how mine is going to look. Right, so I think, yeah, the longer that you make it down this section here, it's less likely to flip around on your neckline. So this is the design we're going for today. I think, yeah. All right, let's go for it. So the next thing you need to do is, after you've textured all of your pieces, we need to start applying the little danglies, which I'm going to have, let's have a think, one on either side, possibly we'll have 3 on here, 1 on here and 1 on here. I think, yeah, because when it's around the neckline, these guys will obviously fall downwards. You don't really want 1 on here, I don't think, because I think it probably won't look very well. Yeah, let's do that. All right, so let's get going. So we'll move all of these out of the way. Right, so in order to pop your little dagger on here, I'm going to be showing you the daggers. Obviously you can pop beads on if you like, but this is what we'll do today. Right, so we'll get our little, there we go. We'll get our little hammered, what's it called, Sam, come on. Honestly, menopause does a number on you, doesn't it? I can't think of the word today. Copper washer, there we go, oh my goodness. Right, yeah. Copper washer and our dagger. So I think we will use our 0.6mm wire. So because I've made a few of these before, I know that to get this type of wrap, which I like, it takes around about 10 centimetres to hang off one of the smaller copper washers. So we take 10 centimetres of 0.6. Again, I'll put in the description box the gauge equivalents for you guys, or maybe even on the screen at the beginning. So we cut 10 centimetres, that should be enough. Righty-ho, so we put, oh, that one's not got a hole on it. Bear with me, back in a second. There we are. Now obviously check that you have holes in in your daggers. There we go. These are little just check glass daggers. So what you want to be doing is laying your dagger bead around about 2/3 of the way along. All right, and bend the wire over at an angle so that it's in line with the dagger point at the end. Do the same with the other side. All right, so pop it, oops, get back into focus, Sam. Pop it at the other side like so. So you just cross the wires over like so. Now at this point, this dagger will move, which is great because we need to come in with our needle nose pliers if you have some, and hold this section here. So we want to wire wrap this guy around like so. Or use your fingers, entirely up to you. So just a couple of times around and then back underneath. If it sort of moves and gets a bit squishy, just give it a bit of a manipulation with your pliers. I'm working through the camera, so things don't always go to plan. Just snip off the excess and just tidy this guy up at the back. So you're left with this, okay? The next thing we need to do is put a little loop on it, tiny little space here. Let me move this out of the way. It doesn't seem to be wanting to focus today for some reason. Okay, so hold that there and make a wire wrap loop. Now I'm going to use the second step on my plier because I know that that's large enough to fit around my washer. All right, so around the second step, like so, rotate and make a loop like so. Next thing we need to do is to come in with our washer. Pop it over, very gently pop it into place, like so. Again, come in with your pliers and hold that in place, like so. And then you can use your fingers, which I tend to do because I just like to scrappily wind and wind. You can use longer lengths of this if you want to take your wrapping and cover the top of your dagger. I don't like to do that. I like to leave it open, but you know, again, this is just ideas for you. And just tidy that up, pop it into place, and just straighten things up if you need to. So there is our dangle attached to our little copper washer. All right, so we should have 2 of these now. You then want to come in with your larger copper washer, which is what I'm using here, and attach. I've attached 3. You can attach whatever you like. Again, like I've said before, this is just literally, I said it again, this is just ideas for you. All right, so let's have a look at how to construct this guy. Right, so we can have that there, and that will dangle there like so. This is the part about jewellery making that I really enjoy, just sort of faffing around and finding out what looks good, what doesn't, what you're happy with, that kind of thing. So we literally come in, I've said it again, we come in with our little bits and pieces here and have a look. Yeah, I think that looks quite nice, don't you? So around the neckline we would have these 2 dangling, these 3, yeah, I like that. Right, so let's think about fixing all these together, shall we? Let's get rid of all this lot. Right, so we'll take some of these 5mm jump rings. You need to have a jump ring that is going to be wide enough to fit your component and your copper washer. Now when we bash our copper washers, obviously it spreads the metal out a little bit and it does make them slightly thicker than the original form. So when you're thinking about this, just make sure that you have copper washers, that you have jump rings large enough to fit both through. All right, and that includes this larger copper washer here if you're deciding to make one like me with a larger unit here. So let's have a look at this. So we bring in our little jump ring. All right, so we'll attach that and we'll attach this here, like so. Bear with me as I work through the camera again. All right, so that's our first little unit attached. All right, so we'll do the same with the rest of them. This isn't too taxing. You just pop all of your units together and attach them with the jump rings. Meanwhile, you guys can tell me how you all are. What have you been doing this past few days? I've not been doing a huge amount. We've got some things going on at home with one of my kids. They're trying to find a college at the moment, which is proving extremely difficult because here in where I live there are only 2 colleges that would cater My child wants to go into medicine. They want to be a pathologist, and we're finding it very difficult to find a suitable college that, because of their neurodiversity, it's got to be close. So our only real option is to go for a private college, which obviously, as you well know, is going to cost us a fortune. But because of their neurodiversity, it really is the only way that we're going to do it. So we're just trying to fathom out how we're going to do this. So it's been a bit of a stressful week this week because we need to be getting applications going. So I hope you're having a better week than me. I have to say that my jewellery making, my crafting is always a really good way of me relaxing and just putting the stresses and strains of life out of my head for a few hours or a couple of hours or however long. You know, I'm sure you guys are the same. You get to a certain age, don't you? And I feel like I'm everything to everyone at the moment. I don't know if you feel the same way sometimes. You get to a certain age, don't you, where you are everything to your children and you're also everything to your parents and your family. So I do feel like I am being spread a little thin at the moment. However, I do sit down and I've been doing some crocheting. I'm making a very, very tiny granny square blanket, which is great for the soul. It's taking ages to make because I'm using all sorts of different scraps of yarn and that kind of thing. But because the granny squares are so tiny, it's taking a long time to make it, which is fantastic, I think, because, you know, it'll take me probably until winter time, which is a great time, isn't it, to finish a blanket. It'll save on the heating bills. So I've been doing that as well. I'm trying to keep hold of my garden because it looks like a jungle at the moment. I don't know what it's like where you are. You guys in the States, you probably have a decent summer actually, and you're probably quite parched, aren't you, in places? Whereas here in the UK, we seem to be having a weird rainy season. It's extremely muggy here, very damp in the air, and it just feels extremely wet and muggy, we call it, you know, like, I don't know, damp in the air. It's not good at the moment. So my garden looks like, I don't know, it looks like a jungle. So we're nearly at the end here. You're listening to me waffling on, honestly. It's good therapy waffling on to you guys, actually, so I hope you don't mind me waffling. So let's get the final pieces here on. Just a couple more, and then we'll need to think about a chain. So what kind of chain am I going to put on this? I think it probably needs something light. I don't know, though. Again, just ideas. This is not prescriptive. You put on whatever the heck you like. Actually, it probably might even look nice with a cord, you know, just to have the copper section, you know, on the neckline, and then perhaps even a cord or an alternative metal. I think this would probably look really, really cute with a silver tone chain even. The only thing you need to remember is that when these guys flip around a little bit around the neckline, so have a play about. I think everybody's neckline is different, so with these scallops particularly, just have a play around and see how you feel. Whoops. Nearly there. Just pop this last little section on. It doesn't seem to want to go on. There we go. Right, so we'll tidy this up. And by this time, hopefully you'll have something that looks a little like this. Isn't that lovely? What I probably will do at some point in the video is I'll splice in some pictures of how this looks around a bust, you know, like a jeweller's bust, so you can see how they look around the neckline. So here we go. Right, there we have it. How beautiful is that? Aren't they gorgeous? Really, really pretty. So we now need to think about what we're going to do for a chain. So I think let's have a think about a chain. Yeah, I think I probably will put I think it's called a trace chain. So I'll just rob this chain from another one of my necklaces. I think we'll put something like that on. All right, so you can hand make these yourself. I will put a link to my video that I made these chains, so you can have a look at it. They're very, very simple to make. And I do like the fact that everything that you see here is completely handmade. All right, so just attach your chain. See how that looks. Oh yes, that's going to look absolutely beautiful around the neckline. Gorgeous. All right, so we'll just attach this one as well. There we go. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I know it's a bit of a shorter one. My videos aren't hugely complicated. I don't like complicated. I like simple and elegant. And don't forget, I don't profess to be an expert in jewellery making. I am just a stay-at-home mum who thought it would be nice to share. Why is that not closing? To share a few ideas with people on the internet. I am not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I do like to have a good chat. As you've probably gathered, I do like to have a bit of a laugh with people, and it's good for the soul. So how do we feel about that? Isn't that beautiful? So all you really need to do then is attach a clasp. I like to use S-clasps because if you're selling your work at fairs, which I plan to do, or if you sell online or whatever, S-clasps are a great way of doing it because you don't need, they don't have to be handed. So left-handed and right-handed people can wear them equally as easily. So how do we feel about that one? Beautiful, isn't it? All right, so have lots of fun making these. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. And don't forget, have a play about with how this sits around your neckline. Make your chain slightly longer is all the tip that I will give you, and it'll stop your little scallops from flipping. All right, have fun, and I will see you in my next video where I think we may very well be looking at a ring which you can change your components at the top. So it's a ring and you can clip on and off, hopefully, if it works out all right. I'm still in the process of making them and testing them out, and you can change things on your ring. All right, so I will see you very shortly, and thanks for listening to me ramble today. It's been really therapeutic for me, if nothing else. So I'll see you soon. Bye guys.